Welcome back to Conflict Hotline. We're looking at inner conflict, and we're just looking at one where there's a lot of internal demand. So let's go back and hear what you have to say about that, Miki.
Thank you. I will see as we go through the program, I have a sense that very often there is internal demand between two or more parts inside of us. And there was also the other part, which is that sometimes if, there is also a demand that may come from the other person. And whether or not there is, which there may or may not be, we hear an internal, we hear a demand whether or not it's there. Somebody says, would you, do this for me? And instead of hearing that the person is asking for information about whether or not we can do it, we just hear, do this or else. And especially when someone is in distress, when somebody's in distress, it's extremely difficult not to hear it as a demand. So I am wondering if that somehow feeds into the should that you're holding.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, she's been emailing me every day telling me how much pain she's in and that she really needs support.
Yeah.
So I feel like I have to.
Right. There's something about, in particular around care, that it's very hard to distinguish between I care for you and I will do what you ask me to do. It's almost like the only way to express care is to say yes. That becomes extraordinary pressure. And I want to believe that we have many ways of expressing care. And maybe that's part of what we can get into. I still am not entirely confident that you fully heard each other. I'm curious if you have a sense of being heard by this.
Oh, if I feel heard? No, I feel like I hear her though. I don't know that I feel heard.
And what about?
I feel a little bit the same way. So it's like something shifted inside, but it hasn't been verbalized yet. In terms,
And whether it's internally or with other people, it's often that we feel I hear you and you don't hear me, and then it's time to put it to a test. So let's see which one of you is ready to check out if you really heard the other.
I'll try. I mean, I heard the need for choice, that you really want this decision to come from a place of like self-connection and consciousness, not just a knee-jerk reaction.
yes.
Is this all?
Well, that's a big piece of it.
That's a big piece.
That's a big piece of it. And then there's another piece about wanting consideration for my own vulnerability.
Like to be seen for like that you're exhausted, that you have a lot of work to do, that you might end up crying the whole way there.
Yeah.
And I heard something even more global than this. Just you really aching for self-care to be part of the equation overall of how decisions are made.
That when we make our choices together, that's one of the things that we always reflect on. That's a component that we always reflect on.
And I love what I just heard, which is when we make a decision together. So there's already the beginning of we're not at odds, we're not fighting with each other, we're just trying to look at the situation to come up with decisions. And do you have now a sense of being heard?
Yes.
Great. Now let's try the other direction.
I suddenly feel a little less exhausted.
Isn't that interesting? Interesting. Yeah.
That's very funny.
Yeah.
It's like that whole little piece of exhaustion just kind of lifted off.
Because you're not holding it alone anymore. That's the piece, the togetherness is what creates that sense of like, there's openness here, because now you know that this part is holding care for you, so you don't have to be so fierce and protective about it. This is how things start shifting. Now let's see what happens when you hear this other part.
Okay. So I just want to paraphrase that. So holding on that tight is part of what's exhausting.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm trying to think back and remember, because it's been a few beats back. But I'm remembering something about just wanting to live in a world where people are truly, where there's a really heartfelt and deep response to the people in our lives, and that there's a willingness to meet help people when they're in crisis.
Yeah, like for availability.
For availability.
I want people to be available to each other.
Yeah, and to have that as a priority.
Yeah.
And to kind of when we make decisions together, to have that piece on the table at all times, because that's kind of a core issue, core belief, core value in terms of the whole world you want to live in. Is there more? Did I miss something?
I mean, just the piece about like really wanting to support her in particular, because I feel so connected to her, and I really want to let her know that, you know, that I care about her.
So it's even more than that. There's also this particular friend that you really deeply care about.
Yeah.
We really deeply care about, and it's wanting to express that care for this person that's so important to us. Yeah, and really, I'm guessing too, really being touched by the pain. Yeah, and wanting to respond.
Yeah. I feel heard.
And what does it feel like? What does it do inside of you?
I feel calm. That inner fight is gone. I just feel kind of quiet inside. Available, open.
Great. So now there is this space that is really kind of like fertile for sitting with this. That's the space that you wanted, from within which you can make the decision.
Yeah.
And now I also more trust that whichever decision you end up advocating, that you will hold care for Lauren from where you are. Does that feel true?
Yeah.
So I'm curious if either one of you has a proposal.
Well, and I want to add one thing, and part of what's really interesting is that my heart feels so much more open to my friend now. I have all this sense of spaciousness inside me. So not only do I not feel exhausted, but because I've kind of integrated that piece, I also now am much more in touch with the caring for our friend.
Yeah.
So
I'm wondering, you have a question over
I'm
there?
just sitting struggling, because when I hear you saying that you're calm, and when I heard the dilemma, it's like, I'm feeling frantic. Like, what are you going to do? And so I'm not getting, I want to know, when I'm in the situation, how do I do this with myself? How do I get to a place where I'm not, it's like, on the one hand, there's this desire to help, both to help myself, like a strong desire, or to help the other person. But how do I not make that a demand? Like, what do I do to transform it into this?
So let's kind of like take a step back and ask the question, what is it that creates demands overall at whatever level? Why would anyone ever make a demand? You only make a demand when you don't trust that your needs count. If you really trust that your needs count, you don't have to make a demand. There's more room for negotiation. And it sounds to me like what's been happening here is they are starting to trust that they count with each other. And so it just creates a softening right away. And so does that speak to you?
It does. I want to make sure that I can develop the trust of myself, that that I'll be able to be there for whatever voice comes up, and not sort of push it away like I usually do.
Yeah. So part of the deal is to break the pace of the yes but. Do you know what I mean by the yes but?
Yeah.
Where each voice can say da 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 da, and then the other voice says yes but da 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 da, yes but da 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 da, and whenever there's a yes but, nobody actually gets heard. So there's some way in which we need to develop the capacity to let each voice be in full, each part be in full, and then as you really give each part a full hearing, the but dissipates. And then you can start seeing the places where there is crossover and overlap and where you can come together. I'm wondering if that's what you were asking for.
Yeah, it seems helpful to imagine doing something like sitting down and writing out each side fully and totally and not arguing with myself.
Yes, yes. And there are other things that you can do. You can just like allow your full self to become one and feel what that is like and what's alive there and what are the real needs. And then become the other. And then you can start kind of like going back and forth and giving each other a hearing, and then things start shifting.
All right.
And I'm still curious if either one of you has a proposal for which way to go, how to go.
I have an idea. I'm thinking maybe if I took Thursday and Friday off work, then I could regroup and do the things in my life that will make me feel like my own life is manageable, and have the downtime I need and know that I'm ready to come back on Monday for a big week. So if I took Thursday and Friday off and took care of myself, then I could go on the weekend.
You're surprised.
I am. And now I'm a little like, are you sure you want to go? I guess I really connected with the needs that I have too for self-care, and so I feel protective of those needs now, I notice.
Or we could take Thursday and Friday off and go down just for one day. Just go for Saturday and come back Sunday.
It's interesting how I totally switched, you know?
So it's about, something else has come up about your own wanting to slow the pace of life down, and
yeah, I think I needed a reminder of that, and like hearing it from you, I don't know, it resonates, and so now I feel protective of our time. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah. So you're not really sure anymore that you want to go.
I'm not. But I know what I want. I know what I want to do is find a way to I want her to feel supported and cared for.
That is so beautiful. That the getting to a place of where there's a difference between I want her to feel supported, and that means I have to do something. And that's where you start having a little bit of space, really recognizing what you want to create in the world, and starts having a sense of creativity that it doesn't have to be just one way. I am also, we're going to go into a break in a moment. During the break, I want you both to consider, because we haven't talked about that at all, what would it be like to be there with her? Because that might affect the decision too. So let's think about that too when we come back from break.
And possibly when we come back, we'll have that conversation where we tell our friend what the decision is. Stay with us.
I can always use time for myself.